Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the Battle of Algiers, directed by Pontecorvo, focusing on the scene with three Arab women carrying out an attack on the French district. I'll start out with my initial assumption about this scene, which is that it is an example of progressive gender equality, and then I'll describe how a Beauvoir interpretation of the film complicates this original perception of the scene, especially in relation to the portrayal of the role of man in the film. In this scene, centered around the three women that I'll be focusing on, Jafar explicitly promises to his people to avenge the French attack on the Kasbah. Three women are placed at the center of the action for an entire resistance movement. Seems pretty progressive. The beginning of the scene cuts to women taking off their traditional burqas, examining themselves in the mirror, clearly focusing very intently on their assignment. One of the women decides to cut a lot of her hair off, further demonstrating their commitment to the cause and their willingness to sacrifice. As the three women attempt to move through security to get to the French district, the European guards draw assumptions about the three women's character through solely their appearance. The women are Europeanized. This emphasizes their femininity and convinces the guards of their innocence. But the reality is the complete opposite. The French soldiers expect these women to be obedient, but instead they are manipulative, they are fearless, and it is the French men who are actually the naive ones. At first, the scene seemed to empower women through their instigation of action, and by turning the French guards' gender assumptions on their own head. However, I argue that by bringing Beauvoir into the conversation and juxtaposing this scene with the portrayal of the true male leaders of the FLN, the film clearly defines the revolution in terms of men. It is only through the exploitation of gender roles that women are even allowed to be added by men to the resistance effort. Beauvoir's description of women as the other is extremely apparent in this scene. She explains the women are defined by only their restricting conditions and can only create themselves according to preconceived notions. Beauvoir recognizes that the existence and action of women is removed from the standard, saying, "She is determined and differentiated in relation to man, while he is not in relation to her. She is the inessential in front of the essential. He is the subject, he is the absolute, she is the other." Take this part of the scene, for example. When Ali and Jafar arrive to the three women waiting for the truly capable male leaders, Jafar condemns the oldest, darkest, longest-haired woman about her Europeanization and preparation for the act, and she begs him to let her continue. She says she will bring her child along to further her innocence and femininity. This evaluation by Jafar reduces the action of women to the context of man. They are forced to obscure their true identity and physically strip themselves of their values. An understanding of Beauvoir's claims helps further this idea. Women's actions have never been more than symbolic agitation. They have won only what men have been willing to concede to them. They have taken nothing. They have only received. The women in the scene are told what to do, how to do it. They're presented with the materials and told to carry out the task. They are simply a means of transporting and delivering the objectives that have already been decided for them. Their role in the effort is contingent on the obligations of man. They are only assigned this singular task because the men couldn't carry it out themselves. The men needed the women to utilize their innocence and beauty to persuade other men of a false identity. Before they were asked to carry out this task, they were irrelevant. And after this task, they returned to their usual and assumed role of waiting to be called upon by men, just as they were before Ali and Jafar came to evaluate their transformation. The portrayal of the women in this scene is also remarkably different than the representation of the male protagonists in other scenes. This scene, in which Ali is shown in an exterior location, draws out the complexity of his character through multi-layered lighting, expressive body language, and a close-up angle. He is portrayed as an individual in his own right, oppressed by the white man in every direction, but determined and pensive in his own objectives. In contrast, the scene centered around the women, placed in an interior location with a single-dimensional lighting pattern and stoic emotions, shows the three women not as individuals, but as a flat group assigned to carry out a task beyond themselves. The Beauvoir interpretation and complication of Battle of Algiers draws out some important ideas that are still relevant today. She begs the fundamental question: how can she find independence within dependence? I believe that the three women did not achieve any sense of liberation through their effort with the FLN. All that the three women really accomplished was a furthering of the goals of the FLN created and executed by the male leaders. The three women may have physically dropped off the bombs, but the action was done for them. They were chosen only because of their appearance and gender. They served the purpose of a mask placed on another man to help him achieve his goals. It wasn't until men and women truly combined under a single massive body that took to the streets, not dominated by a superior male hierarchy, that Algerian and women alike made substantial progress towards independence. In this majority victory, women and men shared the same street, fought the same oppressor, made their own decisions, struggled and succeeded regardless of their gender. This was their victory.